Hello friends, greetings to all of you. Welcome to my channel MJS Knowledge Hub. In the series of revision videos for ISCA, CA Final Old Syllabus Paper number 6, Information System Control and Audit, we have completed successfully the revision of Chapter 2 and Chapter 5 and Chapter number 3. Now we are starting Chapter number 4, that is Business Continuity Planning and Disaster Recovery Planning. So the name itself says that there are two parts of the chapter. One is business continuity planning and second is disaster recovery planning. So what we are going to learn here. First, we have seen in the revision session that we understood the simple concepts of information system and the different types of systems, and then we have seen how the system is being developed, what are the stages, and we have studied the system development life cycle. Once the system is developed, we need to take care, we need to protect the system. Therefore, what are the different kinds of protection to be available or what controls to be kept are dealt in chapter number 3, protection of information system. So now the working of system is going on, the organization is functioning well, it's fine, but there may be some contingency or there may be some disruption which may affect the business, and it may cause loss in terms of financial and even the loss of credibility or the loss of trust on the organization by the users. So this business continuity planning and disaster recovery planning is a chapter which focuses on how to recoup the system from being affected by the disaster. So, what are the critical activities in the organization structure? Which activities play a very important role? So, how to protect them, or if they are affected by the disruption, how to minimize the effect of disruption, or what plans should be done is dealt by this chapter. So first we are going to see what is meant by business contingency. Then slowly we will be moving forward to understand the business continuity planning process. Because to minimize the contingency, there must be a process within the organization to safeguard the organization. So once there is a process, because to have a process, the company will formulate a policy. Because once a policy is developed, based upon that only you can develop a process for protecting the organization from any disruption. So we are going to see what is a business continuity planning policy, BCP, business continuity policy, and then what are the objectives of that policy. Once the policy is in place, the management now makes separate committees to prepare a business continuity plan. So based upon the policy and its objective, a plan is developed. Therefore we will see what is business continuity planning and what are the objectives. And then once the planning is being done, it will be documented, and then we'll prepare a manual called as BCP manual. So we'll see what is meant by BCP manual and what are its benefits. And then we will slowly forward moving to understand what are the different kind of backup available. The data must be backed up in case of any serious disruption. If the data gets lost, it will be the huge loss to the organization, because information is an asset these days for the organization. Therefore, what are the different kinds of backup available, and what are the different strategies of how to ensure that this information system and the organization can survive a disaster. So we are going to see all these things in this video. So without much delay, let's get started. So friends, now let us start the chapter number 4, business continuity planning and disaster recovery planning. Before starting, I would like to request you to kindly subscribe to my channel if you are new to the channel, and please kindly go to the channel where you can find the videos of chapter 2, chapter 5 and chapter number 3, so that you can have the revision of those lectures first and then come to chapter number 4. So let's get started. What is meant by business continuity management? BCM. Business continuity means maintaining the uninterrupted availability of key business resources required to support the essential business activity. So every business has some objective and provides some service or goods to the users. So the business continuity means you must ensure that the key activities or key business resources are not affected by the disruption, and they are always available to the organization. So the terms like business contingency, continuity planning process, business continuity planning, and BCP manual, etc., comes out of the requirement to ensure that the business resources are being always available to support the essential business activities. So what is my business contingency? It is defined as an event with the potential to disrupt the computer operations, thereby disrupting the critical mission and business function. So it is an event which has the capacity to disturb or completely affect the computer operations. Such event can be anything. It can be hardware failure, or it can be natural calamities. So in that situation, the computer operations or other critical missions of the organization is being affected. Therefore, that's called as business contingency, and it's very destructive also, and often called as disaster. Then, what is meant by business continuity planning process? So, in order to avoid to withstand the contingency, we must take care of many different steps in the organization. So, to have that, to make those different kinds of steps or what plan to be taken if disaster occurs is described in the business continuity process. So, BCP is a process designed to reduce the risk of the enterprise from unexpected disruption of the events which is affecting the critical functions. It can be both automated ones and even the manual ones also. What are the critical functions, whether it can be manual or automated? BCP process is designed to reduce the risk to an enterprise from the unexpected disruption. And then it will assure the business continuity planning process. The process will assure that the business will be running smoothly and it can recover in a minimum amount of time. So once you have a process in place, to have this process there must be a policy in the organization. Therefore, we will be developing a business continuity planning policy. It will be describing what all steps to be taken if any disaster happens. Then once the policy is in place, we'll start planning. We'll take different steps and measures to develop that business continuity plan. So business continuity planning refers to the ability of the enterprise to recover from disaster and continue the operations. So this chapter is completely revolving around the disruption which may occur, how the organization will cope up, and how the different kinds of it will be developing different kinds of plans so that it can meet the contingencies in future. So this chapter is completely all about the any sudden disruption to the entity or to the organization and how the organization is going to react to it. So react, or you can say even respond to it. So business continuity planning, a plan is done so to that the enterprise has the ability to recover from the disaster, continue its operation with the least impact. Once the planning is done, this planning is done in 8 phases. We'll be seeing in the later part of the video. And then because the plan is developed, while plan is being developed, you document each and everything. So the documentation is called as BCP manual. So BCP manual is a documented description of actions to be taken, resources to be used, and procedure to be followed before, during, and after an event that severely disrupts the business operation. So the manual is going to specify what are the actions to be taken, what are the resources to be used, and what are the procedures to be followed while the disruption occurs. So the manual provides a confidence or restores a confidence among the management that the business can recover from the disruption in least possible time. And the manual also contains those activities or may anticipate those incidents that may cause a serious disaster or disruption to the organization. Then this business business continuity management is you can say it is a business driven function, like it is a framework. So business continuity management is a framework where it will be helping the organization to proactively assess the enterprise resilience to a disruption, means how strong is the enterprise to any disruption which occurs to it. Then provides a rehearsed method of restoring enterprise ability to ability to supply those key services to the users. And also the business continuity management framework will help in delivering a proven capability to manage the business for disruption. Therefore the BCM, business continuity management, is a framework. But see, when there is a business contingency which is very dangerous for the organization, so therefore we'll have a business continuity planning process in the organization. To have the process, we need to have certain policy. The policy will help us in getting the plan done, and then when we are planning, you document the things, you look at the BCP manual. Everything, all this process will come under the BCM framework. So business continuity management framework encompasses all these activities. So what is business continuity management policy? The business continuity management policy defines the purpose of setting up the activity for establishing a business continuity capability and ongoing management and maintenance of the business continuity. So simple. So what does policy will do? The policy will set up the activities for establishing a business continuity capability. Means it will establish those set of activities which are required to protect the organization at the time of disaster and ensure it that it continues to providing these critical services. The setup activity incorporates what it incorporates specification, end-to-end design, build and implementation, initial exercising of the business continuity capability. So the policy will ensure that the activities, end-to-end design, everything is being planned accordingly. The ongoing maintenance and management activities include embedding business continuity within the enterprise, exercising the plans regularly, and updating, communicating them. So the policy will say that the plan must be developed, the plan must be exercised and tested, and it must be updated as and when required. Therefore, based upon the policy itself, the plan is being developed. So in the latest part, we will see what are the objectives of the policy. Then comes the main important thing. Because of policy, we are going to plan, right? So what is meant by business continuity planning? It is the creation and validation of the practical logistical plan for how an enterprise will recover and restore partially or completely from interrupted critical functions with the least minimum time and least possible impact. So business continuity planning. What is the plan? The plan is the actual logistic plan. If anything happens, how we are going to respond to it. So it's a practical logistical plan for how an enterprise will recover and restore. So it focuses on recovery of the enterprise from the disaster or restoring either partially or fully of the critical operations within the least possible time and with the least level of with the least impact. Therefore, the plan focuses on logistical things when the disaster happens, recover and restore the critical operations so that the organization becomes functional in least possible time. Okay, the resulting outrage of disaster can have a serious effect upon the validity of firm operation. That's why we need to have a strong plan to cope up any kind of disaster. So now the planning is done, and then the business is being continuing, and the systems are working, and the business continuity covers the other areas. What does the business continuity covers? Business continuity means the ability of the enterprise to survive a disaster. So it contains business resumption planning, disaster recovery planning, and crisis management. So business continuity has business resumption planning. It will say operating part of the business, how fast the system operations are being brought into action. Then disaster recovery planning refers to technological aspect of the business continuity planning. So and which will try to minimize the loss and ensure continuity of the critical functions, because the technological aspect is very important, as based upon technology itself the organization is providing the services. Then comes crisis management. This is the overall coordination of all the entire organization in response to crisis. Means if anything happens, all the departments must be working together for effective coordination for recovering from the disaster. And what will be the goal of crisis management? To avoid or minimize the damage to the organization profitability, reputation, and ability to operate. So crisis management has a goal that the disaster must have a very little impact on avoiding or minimizing the damage, and for what the damage is being occurred, to whom the damage is being occurred. The damage is being occurred to the organization profitability, reputation, and ability to operate. So crisis management focuses on these things. Now, okay, so we have till now we have come to the stage. Then comes what are the objectives of business continuity planning. Now we have the policy. Then we have based upon the policy we have a plan. So planning is most important because the policy will set specific objectives, but to make the objectives alive we need to plan. So what are the objectives of business continuity planning? Always remember the entire chapter. The main objective is to minimize the loss by minimizing the cost associated with the disruption. See, once the loss occurs, it may have any very bad image, like the name of the company may get a bit defamation, or the investors may lose trust on the organization if something happens. And not only that, once the business is being disrupted, when you want to bring it to operational level, it involves much cost, like transporting people to a safety zone, or using other vendors premises for continuing the plan. So every step to protect requires cost. Therefore, the primary objective of business continuity planning is to minimize the loss by minimizing the cost associated with the disruption and enable the organization to survive a disaster. So disaster cannot be completely prevented, right? If any disaster happens also, the organization must be able to survive and re-establish its operation in least possible time. So this is the objective of business continuity planning. Then how do you develop? The development of the plan is done in 8 phases. We will be seeing these phases in the upcoming video. So the 8 phases are pre-planning activity, vulnerability assessment and general definition of requirement, business impact analysis, detailed definition of requirement, plan development, testing program, maintenance program, initial plan testing, and plan implementation. So the totally 8 phases. So in following these 8 phases, you will be developing a business continuity plan. Okay, we'll see what are the phases in the coming part. Then having this business continuity management, having this business continuity management framework, policy, and manuals and plans. What are the advantage? The advantage of having this BCM is that the organization can proactively assess the threat scenario. Means the organization can by updating these plans, it can understand what are the possible risk or threat scenario that the organization is going to face. Then it has planned response to serious disruption that can contain damage and minimize the impact of enterprise. Therefore, once you are developing a plan, the advantages of BCM first is the proactively assess the threat scenario and the risk faced by the enterprise, and it can plan its response so that the damage can be minimized with least impact. The response will be ready so that as and when the disaster occurs, the organization can effectively fight it. And then the last advantage is that to able to demonstrate a response through process of regular testing and training. So you can demonstrate the BCM team can demonstrate a response through the process of regular testing and training. So in order to have the process in place, we need to conduct minimum tests to know that the process is effectively protecting the organization. So the 3 advantages of BCM are proactively assess the risk, develop a planned response, and demonstrate the response in terms of regular testing and training. Okay, then we have first understood that to have a business continuity management plan in the organization, there must be a policy, right? To have the process or the plan in the organization, there must be a policy which will be as a base, which will show what are the objectives that it needs to achieve, for which the plan is being developed. So BCP policy is in the organization will help the organization to develop the business continuity management plan, and based upon the objectives of the policy, the plan is being developed or customized. So what are the objectives of the policy? The objective of the policy is to reduce the loss of the enterprise business in terms of revenue, reputation, productivity, and customer satisfaction. The first objective is the loss of enterprise business must be minimized, and the loss in terms of productivity, reputation, revenue, and customer satisfaction, that loss must be minimized. The other objective is to identify the critical service and activities undertaken by the enterprise to the customer. Then plan must be developed to ensure continuity of the key business services following a disruption, and it may include the loss of facilities, personal IT, and communication lines also from or failure within the supply support chain. Therefore, plan must be developed to ensure the continuity of key services following the business disruption. Then invocation of incident management plan means what the policy must state if what happens, the plan must be started. Like if this happens, then only the incident management plan must be taken up. If this doesn't happen, no need to start that plan. Therefore, it will give the conditions for invocation of the business management plan, and the business continuity plan can be managed. Then the incident management plan and business continuity plan are subject to ongoing test. Therefore, the policy will specify when what test will be done, when the test will be done, etc. Then planning and management. The policy also specifies who is responsible for development of the plan and who is responsible for the maintaining of the plan. Therefore, objective of the policy is to minimize the loss of enterprise business, identify the critical services and activities to the customer, plan to develop a plan such that it can ensure the continuity of the key business service after the disruption occurs, invocation of the incident management and business continuity plan, incident management plan and subjected to ongoing testing and revision and updation, and the last objective is to planning and management responsibilities being given to the particular member of the senior management. Means somebody is made responsible for development of this plan. So this is the objective of the policy. So based upon this objective, we are going to develop a business continuity management plan. So business continuity, we have generally seen the continuity means it covers business resumption planning, disaster recovery planning, and crisis management. So when it covers the continuity, in order to survive the disaster in order to have the business continuity, these 3 are required. So how this business continuity is being viewed as? So is it only one-time process or is it a continuous process? Generally, business continuity continuity is a continuous process, and it is termed as business continuity life cycle. Why? Because every time we assess the risk, we will do risk assessment, we will discover the recovery alternative by finding the level of risk. We'll develop a recovery plan and implement it, and then go for plan validation. So every time a risk assessment is taken, once the risk is identified, we'll determine the recovery strategy for that risk. After determine the strategy, we will implement the strategy and observe, and then if everything goes right, the plan is validated. So this is known as business continuity life cycle. Okay, so we came to know about the what is meant by BCM process. We have seen what is meant by BCM policy, objective of the policy, business continuity life cycle, and now because of the policy, we are going to develop a plan. So, what are the objectives and goals of the business continuity plan? Let us see that now. So friends, why we are doing this business continuity planning? So that we can minimize the effect of the disaster on the business function, and to ensure that the critical activities of the business is continuing and providing services to the customer, and any the all activities of the organization are resumed in a small span of time after the disaster occurs, with the least with the impact, with very minimum impact upon the services. So this is the reason why we are trying to develop a business continuity plan. So what are the objectives and goals of this plan? The objectives of the business continuity plan are, what is the actual thought to make this plan. The first thing is providing the safety and well-being of people on the premises at the time of disaster. See, information, assets and people, these three form a very important part. They are the important vital parts of any organization. Therefore, the business continuity planning, more amount of focus is given on safety of people at the time of disaster. Then minimize the duration of serious disruption to the operation and resources. And you need to reduce the impact of that disaster on the operations and also on the resources, because if you lose the resources which are available, it will be very costly, it will economically affect the business to again purchase them, and then continue the critical operations and provide services to the customer. Then the other other objectives are, minimize the immediate damage and loss. If any disaster happens, what is the immediate loss is going to happen? You need to reduce it. Let us take a fire damage is there. Once the fire is broken out, there may be a possibility of short circuit, so need to take necessary necessary steps to protect the immediate damage and losses and minimize them. And then establish management succession and emergency power. When the disaster occurs, it may happen that the management may not be available, or it may happen that the management itself is affected by the disruption. Then who will be the next person in charge to take care of the management? Therefore, establish management succession and emergency power. Reduce the complexity of recovery effort. Recovery effort must be too complex to recover the things. It must be a bit of easy and smooth going. Then facilitate effective coordination of recovery tasks. Recovery task itself is not one activity, it is a combination of several activities. It includes emergency hospitalization services, or contacting the fire department, or contacting any important people who can help in the recovery thing. Then reduce the complexity of business recovery effort, and then identify critical lines of business and support function. So your objective is to provide safety, continue the critical operations, minimize the duration of the disruption, and minimize the immediate loss of disruption. Establish management succession, facilitate effective coordination of recovery tasks, reduce the complexity of recovery effort, and identify the critical lines of service and support functions. If you identify what are critical areas or critical lines of service for the business, that areas must be secured first, and then you need to proceed to the other areas. Okay, this is the objective for which the business continuity plan is based upon which the plan is being developed. Then what are the goals? See, goals will be somewhat resembling the objective only, but because we have a goal, the objectives are formed, or we can say because of the objectives, we are getting more clarity on our goals. So what is the goal of business continuity planning? Identify the weakness and implement disaster prevention program. So you check the entire organization, check all the process, and find where are the required available weakness, and what the weakness will result in which disaster, and then take the disaster prevention program. Minimize the duration of serious disruption to the operation. Facilitate effective coordination of recovery tasks, and reduce the complexity of recovery effort. So the goals is to identify the weakness, minimize the duration of the impact, have effective coordination of the recovery task, and reduce the complexity of recovery effort. These are the 4 goals of the business continuity plan. Okay, we know the objectives of the plan, we know the goals of the plan, and now we are developing the plan. So when the plan is being developed, what does the plan focus on? Again, you will say, "Ma'am, focus on is nothing but objective." No, objective is the thing which is being shown that this is what we need to achieve. Then based upon the plan is developed. When plan is being developed, there will be certain important facts or things which we need to remember, and the plan will emphasize on those parts. So developing a business continuity plan is divided. It is developed in 8 phases, which we'll be seeing in the next video. But what the plan will emphasize on certain important points. What are those emphasized points? Those are providing management with a comprehensive understanding, not small, comprehensive understanding of the total effort required to develop and maintain recovery effort. That means management generally will be not that aware of the recovery plan, right? They will be mostly taking decisions of strategic level, seeing the organization working and so on. They will not be that focused upon the BCP thing. So they may take it maybe a simple thing, but we need to explain them. The developing team or the IT people must explain to the management the comprehensive, must give a big detailed understanding of the total effort required to develop and maintain the recovery plan. Then obtain the commitment. Explaining is not sufficient. Obtaining commitment from the appropriate management for the support and participate in the effort. Then define the recovery requirement from the perspective of business function. Based upon the business, what things we need to recover or what functions we need to recover. Then documenting the impact of an extended loss to operation and key business function. The plans will emphasize that if any loss incurred loss has occurred to the operations, then document the impact of that loss on the key business function. Then the plan also focuses on appropriate disaster prevention and impact minimization as well as orderly recovery. So the plan will say that the plan emphasizes that there must be a proper steps for focusing on the disaster prevention, impact minimization and recovery. Selecting business continuity teams to ensure proper balance for required development. So the team of business recovery planning must be having people of all varieties and equal balance of different skills and competence. Then developing business continuity plan that is understandable. If you have a good team also, but the user is the one, the management must understand what you're doing. Therefore, the plan must be easy to understand in the smooth flow of language. Then defining how business continuity consideration must be integrated into ongoing business planning. So you will develop a process of business continuity thing, so that even if the disaster occurs at this point of time, you can do these steps. But this must not be a separate concern. It must be mixed. It must be integrated with the ongoing business planning, so that the system development process will remain viable over time. Means you have found a weakness in particular system, the developed business continuity plan must be integrated with that system and minimize the effect of that weakness, minimize the effect of the disaster which happens because of that weakness. It must not be separately taken. So what are the points what is the point on which the plan will be emphasizing? First thing is to provide management a comprehensive understanding regarding the effort required to develop and maintain the plan, obtain a commitment from the management, define the recovery requirement, document the impact of an extended loss to the key business operation, focus on disaster prevention, impact minimization and recovery, then select business continuity teams who are having various skills and competence, then develop a continuity plan that is easy to understand and maintain, and then define how the continuity considerations and define the integration between the business continuity considerations and the ongoing business planning process. So these are the objectives of these are the points which are focused by the plan. So don't get confused with the objective and the points that are focused. Objective is the top priority for what this plan is being done, and then the development of the plan focuses on what to be achieved. These are the two important things which to remember. In the next video, we are going to see the 8 phases of this business planning. Business continuity plan is developed in 8 phases. We are going to see those 8 phases in the upcoming video. So till then, I hope you have liked this video. So kindly subscribe to my channel if you are new to it, and kindly motivate me with your thumbs up, and do share this video to your friends so that they can also prepare ISCA in a very good fashion. And for this PDF, a link has been given in the description box below, where you can get this PDF, where the chapter number 4 is completely done in 19 pages, which will be useful for your last day revision. I request you to kindly go through this PDF and combine with the practice manual. You can start your preparation. Till then, keep smiling and all the best.